Hello and welcome to this Robocraft 2 video where I will be ranking the cubes of Robocraft 2. So in Robocraft 2 you have 10 tiers, and the weakest cube you start with in tier 1 and then you work your way up all the way to tier 10 where you got the strongest cubes. And that sounds like a very easy video and ranking to make, right? Just put the tier 10 cubes at the very top and the tier 1 cube at the very bottom and you're done, and well, sort the rest in between, and that would make for a really silly video. Don't get me wrong, this video is quite silly, it's just not that silly. It actually got some substance. But before we start ranking the cubes, I just want to rename and rearrange here for a bit. So first of all, let's remove a few. I don't need this many. 4 should be enough. Also S, A, B, C, D, etc. have been done plenty of times, so I want to rename it. Let's start with the worst one. Let's call it Cod Life. Barely worth paying attention to and leaves a kind of papery taste of abandonware. And for the second worst one, let's call it Robocraft 1, a mostly positive experience but slowly growing worse over time. And for the second best one, Robocraft 2015, because that was when Robocraft 1 was at its best. Sorry? Robocraft 2014 was? Let's call it Robocraft 2014, because that was when... No, Robocraft 2015. But before they added CRF, because CRF ruined it. But when they had pit, that was just a month in between they added pit mode and they added CRF, right? That's just a month. That's what. So before 2015, but before they added CRF, because CRF ruined. It didn't ruin everything. CRF was great. So after they added CRF 2016, but before tier flattening surely, because tier flattening, like getting rid of tiers, that was stupid. So 2016 after CRF before tier flattening. Oh, 2013, before they added multiplayer, because multiplayer ruined everything. So, 2013, Robocraft when it was at its best. And for the S tier, the best of the best, we got the Robocraft version that only exists in the childhood memories of its most diehard fans. Better than it actually ever really was. It could also be the potential of what the scrapped Robocraft 2 version, not this one, the other one, the one that FE canned, that version, what it could have become, at least in the minds of all of those players sticking with it to the very end. All those five, maybe 6? 5 dedicated players, yeah. Anyway, let's call it Imaginecraft. Before I start ranking the cubes, I need to explain how tiers work in Robocraft 2. It works by something called Robocraft rank. So everything you can put on your robot, wheels, guns, cubes, got a Robocraft ranking. The high tier stuff got a high Robocraft rank, the low tier stuff got a low Robocraft rank. And it's the total Robocraft rank of your robot that decides what tier you end up in, not how much CPU you are using. You start the garage with 500 CPU, but you can upgrade it all the way up to 2000 CPU. The resources needed for that is a lot. Nothing you can farm within a reasonable time frame in the lower tiers. You need to get high up for that. But once you have unlocked the garage, you can go back and play in low tier using all of those CPU as long as you can squeeze within the Robocraft ranking required to play there. And this is very important. And now the time has finally come to start ranking those cubes. And let's start with the tier 1 cube, because it's the first one you get. And it's good in tier 1, but more importantly, it's also good in tier 2. And the reason for that is that if you're using only tier 2 cubes in tier 2, you end up with a robot ranking that pushes you to tier 3 after only using about 1000 CPU. But let's say you play the game already a bunch and unlock the garage slot all the way up to those 2000 CPU, you can actually get more than twice the health and shield by mixing in about 80% of the tier 1 cubes, making it the perfect cube for low tier seal clubbing. So that, I think, makes it deserving of a rank of Robocraft 2015 or whatever year you consider the best, at least if you're a soulless prick who don't mind seal clubbing. Since you will be mixing in about 80% tier 1 cubes in tier 2, at least if you have unlocked those 2000 CPU, you might think that the tier 2 cube is rather worthless. Wrong! It's good, it's great, but in tier 3, because using the tier 2 cubes in tier 3 you can do the exact same thing you could in tier 2 using the tier 1 cubes, giving an uplift that is even greater with more than twice as much HP and shield than if you would be using tier 3 cubes in tier 3, making it also the rank of Robocraft 2015 for the seal clubber, that is. Moving on. It's a bit more of the same with the tier 3, 4 and 5 cubes, but it's a lot less effective. You can still get a bit of an uplift, but only about 30% by mixing in cubes from the tier below. So this is not Seal Clubber Heaven, and will most likely just go through these tiers to get to the higher tiers, not return here, making these cubes Robocraft 1 tier worthy. A mostly positive experience, but growing worse over time. To explain my ranking of the tier 6 cube, I need to talk about the tier 7, 8 and 9 cubes first, because in tier 7, 8 and 9 you finally have enough robot ranking to fill the whole robot with cubes from the correct tier, meaning these ones are really good, and they're of course a lot stronger than you ever had before, but they're only the stepping stone to get to tier 10, and because of that I think they should also get the robot ranking of Robocraft 1. And now time for that tier 6 cube, and as you see you will not really be using it in tier 7, because in tier 7 you will be using and filling the whole robot with tier 7 cubes, but you will actually not be using it for more than half of the robot in tier 6 either, because you benefit from mixing in a bunch of tier 5 cubes, meaning this cube has a lifespan shorter than that of a Freejam game out of early access launch, so this really deserves the card life tier. So that means it's only the tier 10 cube left to rank. It's the best and strongest cube of them all, and the one you will be using for all your robots in tier 10. Surely this one deserves the top rank. The ImagineCraft rank. The Robocraft of our dreams rank. Wrong, it does not. I give it the Robocraft 2015 rank. It's good, but there's only one cube that deserves that high spot, and that is the post straight from the abandoned Robocraft 2. I miss that cube. That cube was great. It was the best cube of them all. No other cube will ever be worthy. And that concludes my tier list of the Robocraft 2 tiered cubes. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give a thumbs up if you liked it. Maybe subscribe. I will make more Robocraft videos unless Freejam cans this version too. Cheers!